On this edition of The Best Times, we hit the road with RVs and retirees. You'll meet the Peabody Hotel's Duckmaster. And we'll tell you how to get a good night's sleep. Funding for The Best Times is provided by the Plow Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you. Hello, I'm Chris Hardaway. Welcome to this edition of The Best Times, a series that looks at life after 50. In the 60s, there was a song called Born to Be Wild by a group called Steppenwolf. The opening lyric was, "Get your motor running, head out on the highway." Well, that's exactly what thousands of retirees and pre-retirees are doing today. Not on motorcycles, but in RVs, recreational vehicles. It's a lifestyle that draws weekenders, vacationers, seasonal trippers, and even people who sell their house and hit the road full time. Almost half of Americans approaching retirement list travel as one of their retirement goals. Maybe that's why the RV industry is reporting double-digit sales growth over the last few years. Let's hit the road with RVs and retirees. America has always been a nation on wheels. We've loved our vehicles since the days of the Model T. Somewhere along the way, someone thought it would be a good idea to put a house on wheels, and that gave birth to the modern RV, or recreational vehicle. Technically, that includes everything from a pop-up camper to $1 million motorhome. So who buys RVs? Over 80% of RV buyers are 50 and older. They're people like Donna and Ed Motorin, who enjoy the freedom their motorhome offers.
You know, having an RV, you go wherever you want to go. It's an adventure way of life.
Recreational vehicles come in many different shapes, sizes, and prices.
Three basic types. You have a Class A, a Class C, a Class B. All those would be motorized. And then, of course, in the towables, you'd have a bumper pull travel trailer, and you would have a fifth wheel travel trailer.
Class A motorhomes are the luxury yachts of the RV lineup. They're built on a bus chassis, can be up to 45 feet long, and cost as much as a new home. In fact, for some RVers, it is their home.
The Class A typically gives you more room and more floor plan options just because they're typically larger. So that's probably the biggest advantage.
Class B and C RVs are very similar. The Class B is built on a van chassis, the Class C on a truck chassis, and both cost about as much as a nice new car.
The C is very affordable, and I think that's its biggest advantage, that you can still be motorized. It's going to have almost as much room as your A. And then when you go to a B, that's typically going to be a small family or a couple's unit. It could be just the van body itself, or it may have a built-on or added-on slide-out or something to give you a little more room. But the advantage of the B would be the ease of traveling and maybe not taking a second tow vehicle with you.
There are two types of non-motorized RVs that attach to either the bumper or the bed of a heavy-duty truck. Because there's no motor or drivetrain, these fifth-wheel RVs can offer economy and luxury at the same time.
It's going to give you, one, more room. It's more livable. Even though it's larger, it's easier to tow and easier to maneuver.
Choosing an RV is largely dictated by the way you will use it. Weekenders and vacationers can get by with a smaller unit, while seasonal trippers and full-timers will need the space offered by one of the larger RVs. Currently, the industry is booming, with expected deliveries of over 380,000 units this year. That growth is fueled in part by the boomer generation. Dawn and Martin Donnelly are in their 50s and have been RVers for 5 years. They've owned 2 RVs, a Class A motorhome, and this brand new fifth wheel model. Today they're doing their favorite thing, spending a long weekend at a state park.
And we very quickly kind of fell in love with this setting. You know, sitting by the fire in the morning with a cup of coffee. We sit outside in the evening a lot with the fire going, taking the dogs for walks, going out in the woods. And so we really latched on pretty quickly to, this is a very pleasant way to go spend a few days and relax.
At one time we talked about getting a lake house someplace, but then we realized with this, we have our lake house. We just take it wherever we want. We just take it to whatever lake or whatever area we want to go. It comes with us.
Donna and Ed Motorin are spending the Labor Day weekend at a campground outside Sam's Town Casino. They're both retired, they've owned 4 motorhomes, and they've been RVing for 14 years. For them, the RV lifestyle means meeting people and getting to know them.
It's a family. It's just not just a overnight stay, but you meet the best and you become, they become friends for life. The people that we stand with next door here, we have been traveling, living, going RVing with them for the past, what, Donna? 11 years. We met them at an RV resort, and we're looking right now, and we became the best of friends.
Whether you're in a commercial campground or a state park, whether you enjoy the solitude of communing with nature or prefer the company of fellow RVers, the lure of the RV lifestyle is traveling wherever the road takes you.
We go down to Destin, Florida a lot, to the beaches. We go to the Great Smoky Mountains, to the mountains, okay?
I've been flying for 30 years, and I've crisscrossed this country and seen some of the neatest things, and I can't tell you how many times I've been, oh, I bet that's pretty neat down there. And now I want to go do it the slow version. Literally, there are places I have seen from the air that I don't even know what's there. I just want to go there and see what that's all about. And so that's kind of our retirement plan, is take off for a couple or 3 months, go enjoy kind of a region of the country, and come back home and do it again in a few months later.
It's a life that that has no east, west, north, or south. You just, wherever you think you want to go, you can go.
At Tom Sawyer RV Park in West Memphis, Cheryl and Phil Gaston are walking along the bank of the Mississippi River. They are from Atlanta, or they were from Atlanta. In 2015, they sold their business, sold most of their possessions, sold their 3,500 square foot home, and moved into a 350 square foot RV. And on July 4th, they hit the road permanently. It was a decision 2 years in the making.
About the time we put the business up for sale, was about 2 years ago, or a little more than that now, we started talking about it. You know, why don't we just hook up and go? Just, you know, hook it and book it. It was a little scary pulling out. You know, here we go. This is it. This, you know, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Here we come. Ready or not.
Cheryl and Phil aren't newcomers to the world of RVs. They started out years ago with a pop-up camper and worked their way up to their current fifth wheel model that they call their tiny house. And now they're driving it across the country. They've been through the Badlands of South Dakota, to the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado, where they also had a photo op with the famous Wienermobile. They've driven down Route 66, stopping at the Big Texan Steakhouse for a meal and another photo op. And they've driven through the Texas Canyonlands with a stop at the Cadillac Ranch. It's a lifestyle that reflects the freedom of the road.
You meet a lot of fun people, and then you see so much of the United States. I mean,
Yeah.
you just see so much
Yeah,
that
going
you
to
would
see
never.
things that you
Never
only
would.
dreamt about and seen on, television or in magazines, and you can drive up and there you are. And a lot of places we've stayed have just been breathtakingly beautiful, just unreal. You look out this back window and like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my backyard for really as long as I want to stay here.
In addition to taking in the sights along the way, they've also taken a few jobs. Cheryl and Phil have joined the ranks of work campers, a migrant workforce that travels from job to job. They've worked at RV parks and during the last Christmas season at an Amazon fulfillment center in Kentucky. They earned enough money there to pay for a year's worth of fuel.
There was a couple that were 76 years old, and you work 4 days a week, 10-hour days. And that was their 4th year, and they've already signed up to go back next year.
Yeah, they go back every year.
There are no accurate statistics on the size of the work camper force, but there are dozens of websites listing hundreds of jobs in every state. Cheryl and Phil's next stop is Houston, where they'll do an 8-month stint as supervisors at a water park. And beyond that,
And I think I'm going to go up the coast and skirt Mexico and head up into the California and skirt that coast and head up towards Oregon.
full-time RVing isn't a lifestyle for everyone, but Cheryl and Phil see themselves living on the road for quite a while.
I don't know how long we can do it. We can do it a long time, I think. As long as it's fun.
And we have
That's
our health.
really, as long as we're having fun, I'm gonna hang in there and keep doing it.
There's so much to see. I mean, people wait till they retire to do anything, and then they might not make it to retirement. So I just said, let's do it. Let's
It
sell
was
everything.
really a chance
Yeah.
to live
It was.
for us.
Exactly.
Because we were literally living to work.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And it was, we looked at it as a chance to go live.
Throughout America, you'll find unique tourist attractions, like the world's largest ball of twine in Kansas or the world's only hair museum in Missouri. But here in Memphis, we have the world's only hotel with ducks swimming in the lobby fountain. And the historic Peabody Hotel is home to the world's only duck master. I'd like you to meet Jimmy Ogle. It's mid-morning and Jimmy Ogle is on the roof of the Peabody Hotel, getting the famous ducks ready for their red carpet walk to the lobby fountain. Of all the jobs and titles that Jimmy has held, this is undoubtedly the most unique.
Duck Master, all one word, the only duck master in the world. And I'm the 6th duck master here. There's over 200,000 people a year to come to this hotel just to watch the ducks march on those 2 times each day.
Jimmy is following in the footsteps of the man who created the job of duck master and held it for 50 years, Edward Pembroke.
Well, he was a former animal trainer for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. And when he got here in 1940, he was really a bellman. And he was able to, be here, be consistent, have the ducks come up and down, have them stay in the fountain. Was able to take them around the city, around the country.
In addition to his role as duck master, Jimmy happens to be the official Shelby County historian. And the ducks have a very interesting history at the Peabody.
Well, it was 1933, our general manager, Frank Schutt, took his friend Chip Barwick on a hunting trip over to Arkansas. They also took along a set of live duck decoys, which was allowable in hunting at that time. And they also took along another friend, a bottle of Jack Daniels, they say, and they seemed like they paid a little bit too much more attention to the Tennessee sipping whiskey than they did to the hunting. And by the time they returned to Memphis, they realized they hadn't left the decoy ducks on the farm. They were still in the car, so they improvised, brought them into the lobby here, placed them in the fountain as a practical joke on the staff, they thought, retired to the rooms for the evening. Now, when they came down the next morning, they expected to see the ducks flying around or on the floor, or bellmen chasing them through the tables and chairs, trying to gather them up, utter chaos. But the practical joke ended up being on them because they were still calmly floating in the fountain, and guests gathered all around gawking at the ducks. And the general manager, as he should, came up and said, "He'll get that cleaned up right away. It shouldn't be like this in a hotel like this." But the guests all pleaded with him to let the ducks stay.
Twice a day, the Duck March takes place. The red carpet is rolled out in the lobby. The crowd gathers around with special front row seats reserved for the kids. Jimmy wrangles the ducks from their rooftop suite to the elevator and down to the red carpet, lined with guests and onlookers. Everything is choreographed down to the second by the highly trained Peabody staff. But what about the ducks? How do they get them to walk along that carpet and jump into the fountain?
The ducks are who they are. We don't nickname them. They're just 5 North American mallards. We have them here for 3 months at a time. They're provided to us by a local farmer. There's 1 drake and 4 hens, and they're about a year old. It takes about 3 or 4 days for them to get acclimated to the routine. So we have a little overlap of sets of ducks. So every 3 months we trade out ducks, a whole new set every 3 months. We don't touch them. They're not pets. We don't give them treats to trick them to walk or anything. Well, the book says they don't like people. They don't like anything that has 2 eyes in their head. It's considered a predator in their world. So they stay in that water. That water is their comfort zone. And of course, they give them a little snack at 11:15, a little cracked corn down there. That gets them through there because they're not going out looking for food or going to the bar, Capriccio, or whatever. And there's always a lot of people in there, so they want to stay in there away from the people.
Being an historian as well as the duck master, Jimmy gives regular historical tours of the Peabody. Did you ever wonder where the Peabody Hotel got its name?
Well, the very first Peabody Hotel opened in 1869, and that was right after the Civil War. Remember, Memphis was basically untouched by the Civil War because we had that big naval battle, and so none of our buildings were burned, our infrastructure was in place. The railroad had come here in 1857. Colonel Brinkley was a railroad builder. He had gone over to England to get some financing from George Peabody because the financing empire of the world at that time was in England, not in America. So why not build a luxury hotel? It's time for that. It was built at Main and Monroe in 1869. It was going to be named the Brinkley House. Colonel Brinkley was going to name it in his family's honor, but Mr. Peabody passed away that summer or that year, so he named it in his honor. That first hotel was built for $60,000 and was 75 rooms over there. It grew, but by 1925, this hotel was built for $5 million, had over 600 rooms. And then after 50 years, it went into foreclosure, and bought on the courthouse steps and by the Belts Corporation. The Belts Corporation spent $25 million in 5 years restoring it to its original glory because, for one reason, Jack at Belts in Maryland had their wedding reception in the Continental Ballroom, so they had an attachment there, but there's no place like it.
There is history everywhere you look at the Peabody. The original chandeliers hang in the lobby. The travertine marble fountain dates from 1925. Presidents have visited the Peabody, celebrities from sports and the movies, and even the king himself.
Elvis Presley signed his first RCA, a receipt for his first RCA recording contract, signed on Hotel Peabody Station. They typed by our general manager, Frank Shutt, right in this lobby with Vernon, his dad, co-signing it, Neil Diamond wrote the lyrics for the song Sweet Caroline in this hotel in 1969, recorded at American Studios, 12 blocks to our north. Ferry Lewis recorded sessions in here in 1927. 50 years later, he opened for the Rolling Stones at the Liberty Bowl. The Skyway room wasn't built till 1939. Beautiful, gorgeous Art Deco room up there. And it was one of 3 in the country that CBS Radio National Network broadcast swing music over the air. And Guy Lombardo, Tommy Dorsey, the Andrews Sisters, people like that went, live from the Skyway room, top the Hotel Peabody.
And now, Jimmy Ogle becomes a part of the history of the Peabody Hotel. Even though he's only been on the job for a short while, he says he's already learned a valuable lesson from the ducks.
In the little manual we have about duck care, rule number 1 is think like a duck. And that's my new philosophy of life right now, is think like a duck.
We spend about a third of our lives asleep. Statistics also reveal we spend about 7 years of our lives tossing and turning in bed trying to get to sleep. And as we age, our sleep patterns change. Stay awake for this next segment, and you'll learn how to get a good night's sleep. Why do we sleep?
We don't know, but we know that if you don't sleep, you will die. Actually, the only organ that sleeps is the brain. The process of acquiring, incorporating, and learning new knowledge is probably done during sleep, and that's what will eventually affect our genes that will be transmitted to the next generation.
What is insomnia?
Everybody will experience, basically during the lifespan, an episode of insomnia. Sometimes are acute episodes related to a significant family loss, or sometimes maybe a chronic disorder that implies a different pathophysiology. Frequently, insomnia can be related also to mood disorders or psychological stress. In that scenario specifically, insomnia needs to be managed and approached conjointly with the mood disorder and the problem of the psychology part of the condition.
What's the best way to deal with chronic insomnia?
The insomnia that persists and alters the daytime function, the best way to deal with that is with what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. Those are sessions in which the patient is educated about the expectations of an adequate sleep. And we try to consolidate the sleep. The importance is not as much as the hours of sleep, but the quality of the sleep.
What is sleep apnea?
During the night, airflow stops, and that lowers the oxygen level that will affect all the organs in your body, including your brain. So your brain is not resting in the way it should be. That oxygen death that you will acquire is known to produce damage in all the organs in your body.
If I snore, do I have sleep apnea?
I would say probably 40% of the population of our age have this snoring problem. But not everybody who snores has sleep apnea. Probably 10 to 20% of the population that snores may have, a sleep apnea. It's when the snoring is associated with other comorbidities or with daytime symptoms that the problem becomes very significant.
Do sleeping pills work?
Medications help, but the public has the wrong expectation that if I take this pill, I'll be cured, and there is no such thing as a magic medication in sleep medicine.
How many hours of sleep do we need?
The simple answer is, I will say, between 7 or 8 hours. But the way you have to think that question is about the shoe size. Not everybody has the same shoe size. There are people who are well rested with 5 hours. There are people that I know that require 9 to 10 hours to feel well rested. It's not only the duration, it's the pattern and the consolidation of the sleep. And the important symptom is what are the effects in the following day.
Do sleep patterns change as we age?
The quality is altered, is fragmented. Sometimes you develop sleep apnea problems, but the need to rest and recover during sleep is there. Actually, you need to protect your sleep period in the same way as you follow the other indications in health, diet, exercise, control of your blood pressure. You need to protect your sleep. Long term, the cognitive function of your brain are dependent of a good sleep quality.
For more information on getting a good night's sleep, go to the website of the National Institutes of Health. Want more information about life after 50? Go online to watch more shows and find more resources. And send us your feedback and story ideas to besttimes@wkno.org. That's all for this edition of The Best Times. Please join us next week for more stories about life after 50. Until then, I'm Chris Hardaway. Thanks for watching. Good night. Funding for The Best Times is provided by the Plow Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you.